Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in the politics server and the Flat Earth Debate section of it. So welcome, one and all.
Let's get it going, baby.
Morning.
Nice to see you, Brian.
Yo, yo.
Yo, yo. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mum. I gave a little disclaimer before we went live saying, you know, we're here to tell you that the Earth's measured flat. Please don't swear. So the minute we're live, the first is, oh, hello, Mum. Is your mum actually watching?
Yeah, I told her I'm live.
Really? Okay. Well, thank you for sharing the show, as I did already in the call to action. Please share the show if you haven't done so already. This guy shared it with his mum, as I suggest all of you would do. Yeah, following on from our preamble, and as we've now got a live audience, we're here to tell you Earth's measured flat. That's where the ball came from. Space is fake. There is no vacuum of space. Hopefully that'll generate some discussion and discourse. We shall see. How are you, Brian? You vanished yesterday.
It is, and I can't speak at the moment. I'm kind of driving.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll speak on your behalf and say that Brian's been on a bit of a quest to try and get official pitch data delivered to him in light of a journey to Antarctica. So Brian's been requesting this information, given that obviously travelling to the bottom of a sphere that they assume is antipodal would require some evidence to actually back that up, rather than it just being an assumption in an affirming the consequent fallacy. So in light of that, Brian's been trying to chase up the pitch data. And at a live event I did a couple of days ago, one of the participants, or guests I should say, was very keen for me to note that fact. So, you know, he was in some respects more knowledgeable than me, as Barry, I think his name was. And certainly with the slope intercept formula, he took me back in terms of his exceptional knowledge. But when it got to Brian's pitch data argument, I sort of not fobbed him off, but went, yeah, it's an excellent argument, it's really good. He's like, no, this is something that you really need to focus in on the show, and he was keen to get my ear in that regard. Now, given he demonstrated such an exemplary knowledge up to that point, because he was quite an unassuming guy, I did very much take on board what he said when he said it to me, and made sure I was taking note of it. So I passed this on to Brian, but I just thought I'd drop that in because I was hoping to discuss it with him, but I'm happy to sort of give all sides while Brian's tied up.
Well, what it is I asked Will Duffy. I can't do anything about the noise. I asked Will Duffy. I made a video, sent it to him. And my point to Will Duffy was this, that why are you going, if you say that you want to spend money for truth, to find out the true geometry of where we live, then getting official pitch data from a couple of airline companies, reputable airline companies, preferably the likes of Qantas, Lufthansa, etc., then would be the way to do it. You would probably have to spend maybe only about as much, if not less money. You won't have to go anywhere. No one will have to leave their families and their jobs. Nobody is going to get thrown off of an ice wall. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with all that. It's much, much better. It's a much better plan. And he sent me back an email requesting that I concede to certain things before he even watches the video, because he knew what was in the video. Right? He knew what I was proposing, because he was aware of it or made aware of it. And consequently, he's having nothing to do with it. And I've posted it on different people's videos when they've like spoke with him, people like Wixit and other people, and it's been completely ignored. But the guy you spoke to at the event the other night, he made a point of stressing to you how important it was, and there was a commercial pilot there who stressed to you how important it was, because it proves or disproves the geometry. It's that simple. And I know what it's going to prove. They all know what it's going to prove, because every commercial pilot I spoke to on the opposing side, including Wolfie, had to admit that they keep a constant above horizontal pitch. The reason they do that is because they won't generate enough positive lift to oppose 100% of the weight of the plane if they don't do that. So they have to keep an above horizontal pitch, which means they never break horizontal. So if you're flying from London to Los Angeles, which is 11 hours at cruising altitude, you're never dipping below horizontal.
Right.
That's what the pitch data shows.
That
Now, I'll
pilot
go
was
off because it's noisy. Yeah.
Well, when it was him, that particular pilot, ex-pilot, because he's a bit older, was specifically referencing the horizontal fore pitch and the need to have a horizontal to reference, because if you haven't, you've got a void opening up ahead of you, which obviously you don't have. But what I also discussed with that guy, I know you're somewhere perhaps can't talk so easily, Brian, so I'm going to maybe skirt the subject slightly by discussing what else he talked about, which was me asking him, would you have got fired if you'd have talked about this? Because I think he'd come to this knowledge of flat Earth after being a pilot. Or I didn't actually establish that, but I got the impression by the way the conversation went. And so I asked him, would you have got fired? And he said, yeah, you would have done, or he would have done, because there's an expectation that you won't bring the company into disrepute by talking about something controversial. So if you're suddenly discussing something that is generally frowned upon in society, regardless of if it's right or wrong, that would be so frowned upon that it would lose you your job, or highly likely to lose your job. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he made it clear that that would not be the thing to do if you wanted to keep your job as a pilot.
Yeah, I just want to add that he was stressing talking about it, making videos about it, and going out there publicly as a commercial pilot.
Yes.
While representing that company. He's not speaking about the pitch data. Pitch data, that's just data. You can't get fired for data.
Let me clarify that. Sorry.
Just in case anyone mixed that up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I should have really put a bigger gap between those two things. They were separate subjects that I was discussing with the same guy. Yeah. So it's not like he's attaching the pitch data to that particular statement about getting sacked. Those two things are very different subjects that I had with the same guy who happened to be a pilot. Yeah. 737s. Yeah. I did tell you straight after, and I can't remember if that is actually the plane he said he flew, because I said, oh, you fly jumbos, and then he gave me the number of the plane that he did used to fly, and it was the next size down. He's like, no, not jumbos. It's like, okay, right. Obviously, I'm not so familiar with these planes that what he described me as a 200-seat plane. I think it was a 737, but it absolutely isn't a jumbo, and he made sure to correct me on that. No, that's not a jumbo. I'm like, okay, no worries. But it's an enormous plane. It's got 200 seats. But nevertheless, anyway, that's a different story. Anyway. Yeah,
but I just want to point out that people over the years got hoodwinked with that nonsense. Like he's just trying to be honest, saying, I wasn't flying a Boeing 747 or whatever, or an A380. That's all he's saying. But it doesn't matter what plane you fly. The rules are the same. Lift is the same. Aerodynamics is the same. To oppose 100% of the weight of the plane, you must fly with the chord line of the wings above horizontal. The only plane that flies with the nose below horizontal at times is it's a B-25 bomber, because they're designed that way to have the nose down, but not the chord line of the wings. The chord line of the wings is still above horizontal. The nose is only down on the B-25 bomber, because they need to be able to see where they're dropping, what they're going to drop, which is...
Hang on, I actually happen to be familiar with that. The view from the cockpit is lower by the way they've built the cockpit to be in that position. But does that actually mean that the nose is actually flying below the horizontal, or is it just that the positioning
not
of the
exactly,
cockpit...
No, it's just down from the plane, from the fuselage of the plane. It doesn't mean it's actually always below horizontal or dipped.
That's what I thought.
Horizontal.
Yeah, that's what I thought with my very, very limited
like with Concorde. Concorde had a nose that was pointed down, but that didn't mean that the nose was below the horizontal line. But it's the chord line of the wings that matter, because it's the chord line of the wings that determine, because that's where the lift is. That they determine the pitch, the chord line. And if the chord line has to be above horizontal to oppose the way that
I'm just realizing why you've dropped that disclaimer in, because some tosser has used that as a defense, haven't they, Brian? I'm just guessing, but am I right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I knew about it before they even came at me with that. The same with gliders and stuff as well. A lot of gliders will have a nose down position, but their chord lines have to be above horizontal. Yeah,
Right.
It's not even that the noses are always below horizontal. It's just that because they're slightly bent down a lot on some, maybe not all gliders, but some gliders. It's just stupid.
Yeah,
responses.
it's just stupid. It makes me roll my eyes because I can now picture the bleeding discussion that you've had, and you're like, is this you? It's clutching at straws. There's no other way to describe that, is there? Anyway, I'll just do a quick shout out to Jardo. Neil, get ready. This is your 3-minute warning. That was about 2 minutes ago, Neil.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Yeah, this is for the Discord benefit. Neil's my panel member that's currently begging for a membership. Go ahead, AI. Sorry.
Oh, he's begging for a membership.
Yeah. Neil is.
If you want to call it begging, I like the excitement of trying to get it. Right?
How dare you? I
This.
did not say I did not say begging. Begging. It's a very big difference. Speaking of which, smash the super chat. Hit me up on PayPal as a Ko-Fi link. I've got no shame in begging.
Pow, 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 pow. Right, so we got a pitch above horizontal, right? Cool. Then what?
That's it. Horizontal has to be horizontal, like my newfound pilot friend was saying. Otherwise, you've got a void opening up ahead of you. You know, it's just cut and dry. Earth's flat.
Okay, so how does the plane gauge whether it's horizontal or not to know whether it's pitching above horizontal or not?
Gyro.
Gyro, okay. So you'd need to know what type of gyro it's using and what method it uses to data log the horizontal position, because if you don't have the attitude data, all it's going to say is horizontal. And then someone could just argue, well, you don't have the attitude data, so you don't actually know that the plane was actually taking an arc path. So it's not really that much.
Well, you do because they don't break the horizontal. That's all they can't because of lift. The whole point of planes, the way they're designed, is they can't fly with a low horizontal pitch and produce adequate lift to oppose weight. So it doesn't matter what way they want to argue it won't be an arced path.
Further
It can't be. It's impossible.
And further to that, you need the horizontal to reference in the first place. Brian's taking it one step into their territory to do this. I'm not or wouldn't be cutting it off at the knees by saying, well, what are we going to reference again? That's it. That's game over right there. But yeah, we're just toying with them. Toying with them. That's it.
That's a fair point, but it just ends up with the same thing, which they would just say you're just assuming what horizontal is, because without the attitude data, you can't be sure.
No, it's referencing the horizontal.
That is pitch data.
That is exactly right. So they can say that. Yes.
No. Pitch data is not attitude data.
No, it's pitch with respect to horizontal.
Right. So what do pendulous vanes do?
Keep the gyro metaphorically
They're
caged.
a weight that keeps they're a weight. They're a damper to stop precession.
Yeah, it's a way of keeping it permanently caged. I think that's the word you'd use if you're doing it manually on the ground with a manual gyro or whatever you want to call it. What's the name for a normal mechanical gyro? Is that what you call it? Mechanical. Without pendulous vanes, you just cage the thing on the ground and then spin it up. Whereas with pendulous vanes, it's keeping it.
Then you would have if you had a free gyro spun up on the ground, right, and you had the log of what the gyro is doing, then you'd have attitude data. If you don't have that directly and you only have the baseline horizontal and the pitch they have above their baseline horizontal, someone could just argue that you don't have the correct data.
Yeah, you could argue that correct. That's
and
why
then
Brian's
you could say
absolutely correct. Let me just agree with you. Let me just agree with you. But that's why Brian's asking for it. Correct, absolutely. When you step into that realm, and that is the objection, that's where Brian is doing precisely that, though, isn't he? That's the point.
Yeah, but if they give you pitch data, which only references horizontal, but doesn't directly reference the gyro's attitude, it's inconclusive.
Okay. Would you agree, Brian?
No, it's not inconclusive. That's an attempt to have an attack on it. When they're see this pitch data, that's also connected to altitude, which means they're holding a constant altitude and a constant pitch above horizontal. Now, if that horizontal is going down the way or going up the way, then they won't be holding a constant altitude. Your argument is going nowhere. I understand that you want to have an argument.
Stop, Brian. Stop. Please, Brian. You can't conclude and then start telling him his argument.
Why are you stepping in when I'm not finished talking?
Because you're telling him his argument's going nowhere. Then he's stepping over. Then he's stepping over you. You're going to drop that in.
So halfway through the argument, you switched the words you were using from pitch to attitude, so you messed up.
He didn't do that.
I didn't. You brought in attitude. I didn't bring it in.
No.
Will be
the last sentence before you interrupted, Nathan, halfway through, he switched from pitch to attitude.
Data? What is the attitude data?
No, it
What's
isn't.
That based on? Is it the chord line of the wings?
He's asking you what the attitude data is based on, AI.
Oh, my goodness, dude. It's based on the gyro.
Is it based off the chord line of the wings in their pitch above or below that horizontal made by the gyro?
I could care less about that. I only care about the gyro being spun up.
Really care
and its relationship with itself.
Hold on. I want to hear AI's response. Go ahead, AI.
I care about when the gyro was spun up on the ground and its relationship to itself and nothing else. That's all I care about.
But that isn't what he asked you, though. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. I said that attitude is based off the chord line of the wings and their pitch either above or below the horizontal that's made by the gyro.
Go ahead, AI.
That only matters if the gyro is maintaining horizontal the entire time, which you only would know if you had the gyro data, not the plane's orientation from the pitch, because the pitch goes off the horizontal baseline from the gyro. So if you're missing the gyro attitude, you don't have a conclusive argument.
Yeah, we do have a conclusive argument because it's not.
I mean, you could think that
Hold on, AI. Hold on.
So what direction is the horizontal going? So what direction is the horizontal? Are you saying the horizontal could be going up at an angle or down at an angle in relation to what? The horizontal. How are they going to hold the constant altitude?
What are the pendulous veins?
Hold on. You got your question. Hold on, Brian. I now got to reiterate your question. Are you suggesting that horizontal?
No, this is coming from somewhere else, Nathan. You're not aware of. This is coming from an interaction me and this man had there recently.
Gotcha. Okay, both of you just calm down for a second. Both of you just stop for 1 second, please. Just both of you for 1 second. You did put a question to him, though. You asked him if horizontal's deviating from horizontal. That was a good enough summary of what you asked him. Now he can respond to it.
No, I'm not going to respond to anything. I'm going to wait for him to apologize for bringing anything personal to this argument when all we're talking about is the facts so far.
Oh, I'm sorry to be sure.
Thanks.
To be sure, I'm very sorry. There you go.
You won't be getting any apology.
The other guy.
Oh, right. Sorry. I was kind of pretending to be him just to move things along, but that's okay.
I mean, think about it. We were only talking facts back and forth, arguing points and contentions. No one brought up anything personal. All of a sudden, something personal's brought up.
What was that?
So apologize.
What was personal? What did he do?
He accused me of having my arguments for personal motivations rather than the facts.
Oh, I must have missed that. Alrighty then.
Hey, my argument is absolutely worthwhile. Okay, has nothing to do with anything personal. For goodness sakes.
Well, it's been noted. We've got it noted. Good. Obviously, Brian doesn't agree, but it doesn't mean it hasn't been noted.
What do pendulous veins do? They reorient the gyro to the quote-unquote alleged vector of down, correct? So if you had a gyro...
is a damper. The damper.
Oh, my goodness, dude. How about I make my argument and then you critique it? How about that?
I know it was rhetorical, AI, but you did say it's a damper because you intended it to be rhetorical.
Okay,
He didn't.
That's cool story. Yep. What does the damper do for the gyro, please?
It holds the vertical, keeps it vertical. The damper, the whole point is to keep it vertical. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You know why?
Exactly what I said. Down.
Do you know why it has to do that though?
So
They can push the plane beyond the parameters of the gyro, and that can cause errors. So if they're doing a tight turn in a holding pattern, for example, that can cause deviation in the gyro because it's pushing beyond the limit of the gyro. So to correct that, they're pendulous vanes.
Absolutely. And what is the pendulous vane's goal? To orient the gyro to down, correct?
In an extreme circumstance like a holding pattern that's got a tight turn, that's where you'd have errors that would need to be corrected by pendulous vanes. That's why they're there.
Right, that would be extreme, right? But if you had gradual... Okay, hey, here, how about this?
I'm going to be
you guys
handing back
just
to
talk to
Brian.
each other about what my argument is, and I'll just listen.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes, I'm going to let you. Then I'm going to hand back to Brian because I've kind of stole his thunder now, which just wasn't my intention, but I'll be handing back to him after you go. Go ahead, AI.
No, I said I just want to listen to you guys talk about what you think my argument is, and then I'll just listen, and then tomorrow I'll tell you if you got it right.
Fine. I'm going to do the best of summarising it when you two start getting at each other's throats, and I've got no position either way. I'm just trying to summarise each of your position to each other so it's kept civil. Go ahead, AI, if you have a further point. If not, Brian, feel free. Go ahead, AI.
Yeah, I got a point. So the pendulous vane corrects, constantly attempts to correct, as best it can, the gyro to down. So if that's competing against the plane's orientation relative to the attitude of the spin-up, then within that plausibility is the idea that as it's taking a slow arced path, it will constantly be readjusting the horizontal, just as the Globers imagine their horizontal is constantly adjusting. You'll always have a pitch above that, and therefore the pitch data won't be relevant. You need the attitude data as well. So you need the pitch data is not the complete image of what's happening. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it is the complete image of what's happening. Even a commercial pilot said it to Nathan the other night. Now, further than that, they're not using mechanical gyros alone. They're using Lite gyros, right? Fiber optic ring laser gyros. And they actually have 3 of them in the INS, which is the inertial navigation system, right? And they use the inertial navigation system and everything that shows them, right? The 3 fiber ring laser gyros have 3 orientations in the INS that accounts for pitch, roll, and yaw. And the whole purpose of the INS is that it records the journey. So if they lose GPS and every other radar or anything else they might have, they can refer to the INS, and that will allow the plane to fly to where it needs to go because it remembered the journey. So they don't need mechanical gyros at all.
Right. So if you get the measurement on the ground and then take your path and you retro-engineer the plane's orientation for all the turns that the machine registered, the correct word for that is called attitude. So I rest my case.
No, you don't rest your case, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to.
I rest my case. You're
Hold on. Stop. Right, hold on, Brian.
Somehow correct.
Hold on.
Somehow correct.
Hold on, please. I've got to get control, otherwise he's going to rumpus you, and you're going to rumpus him, and so it'll go on. No, if he
I'll be stepping away for a sec. I'm back in a moment. I have to step away.
No worries. If at any point someone says, I rest my case, that is to say, that is the conclusion. It's his full stop. He's perfect. You can't just say, no, you don't rest your case there. No, you might have a rebuttal, but he's putting a fine point on his argument. He's perfectly entitled to do so. You can't just take it away from him. He is resting his case on that point. And yeah, that's how it's going to be taken. I'd be fuming if that was me. I'm sorry to side with you, or I should be sorry to side with you, but to be slightly biased, when you've made your point and you want to make it absolutely clear that that is your point that you're making, and you go something to the effect of, that I rest my case in your example, and someone says, no, you're not. No, I am. I have. That's what I just did. So undermining it won't help me. It'll just piss me off. Anyway.
Why are you not shouting out the gifts that Jabdo gifted?
Because there's a discussion going on, Neil. Yeah, that was the conclusion to it. That was going to be the next thing I did. Total lie. Shout out to Jardo for the super chat. Sorry, for gifting memberships. Really appreciate the support. Gifted 10 memberships. Woohoo! There's a load of Omi videos that I've just released.
Which one is I got?
My shout out's being rumpus by Neil. There's a whole bunch of Omi videos if you're a new member that's just been gifted a membership, so you can check those all out. They'll be released to the public later sometime. But yeah, you can check them all out. They've all been done and polished and edited. Thank you for gifting membership, Shardo.
I got one. Thanks, Jado.
Indeedy.
And Brian's right.
Why is Brian right? Summarize both sides of the arguments. Go.
He's always right.
It's not summarizing both sides of the argument.
They're both talking about the same thing, just giving different names to it. In the end, they agree. AI said that's my point. So they both have the same point. They're just calling it differently.
I don't know if that's the case, but fine. If that's how you perceive it. Anyway, it's obviously something that is important if you're going to be assuming Earth's a ball, which is going to get called out as begging the question fallacy. So therefore, this type of information that's going to validate it as a ball that you're flying around to the bottom of, by assumption, you're going to need to present something. This is what Brian's suggesting you give us.
Exactly, because all horizontals are parallel. So if you're going on a horizontal flight, I mean a level flight, you're flying parallel to the surface.
Which was what the pilot guy said. I mean, I didn't quite follow along closely enough to when Brian said, well, that's what the guy pilot that he was said to Nathan. I don't know if that was strictly true. I can't remember what Brian said he had said. But what he did talk about was flying parallel with a horizontal that can't be avoided opening up ahead of you.
Exactly. It should be pretty much the pitch data. The altitude, the elevation of the airplane, and how level it stays throughout the flight.
Pitch and attitude, says AI.
There you go. But those are technicalities. I'm not a pilot. I wouldn't know the language, but that is pretty much what is requested, isn't it?
Yeah, but just fine. But just so you can absorb it when this does get released, or it's going out live now, aren't we? We're live. Listen back to what AI actually said, though. You're just fobbing it off and going, well, they're basically saying the same thing. Well, no. What else happens in this server? Do you have little jollies? Do you all chit-chat amongst yourselves, generally speaking? Is it ramma-jamma ding-dong? Is it normally completely deserted?
It varies. I mean, it can be really busy and sometimes kind of dead.
Last time I asked, I was told, you should come in a little bit earlier and then you get all the Aussies. So I did exactly that the next visit. And there was a fair few Aussies that are having back and forths with us, like an hour in advance of when I'd normally get here.
Yeah, Aussie hours probably starts a few hours before that, so about 5 p.m. our time. It's usually Aussie hour for a few hours.
Aussie hour.
Yeah, we're taking over.
You already have.
No, there's a strict one in, one out policy with you Australians, to be fair. We're getting overtaken, mate.
That seems reasonable. That's what we did with the Irish.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It does make sense. So you guys are all friends in here? That's kind of what I was fishing for. Is it like a sociable room where you're all chit-chatting?
Yeah, some of us have known each other for about eight years or so now.
Right, Jedi. Yes.
we're all good friends in here, of course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if there's not much going on, I suppose there's sometimes some discussion, but once we've got people to talk to and hear, it's always on topic.
Well, they're the most heated shows of the week. I mean, there's a slightly smaller than usual audience at the moment. 77 people watching. Thank you very much if you've shared the show. That's probably why there's 77 people. There'd be no one watching if no one shared. So thank you very much if you've shared. But it'd be nice to get a few more people watching. This is typically the part of the week when the most heated discussions take place. So please share the show.
It is Labor Day weekend in the States, so you got a holiday involved here.
Ah.
I have a question.
Good.
is there a limit to how far away the container can be? And I'm not asking you where the container is, if there is a container.
No, there's no limit.
All right. That's all I wanted to ask.
I mean, I could take it as a loaded question, but I don't think it was. But I can't ascribe any information to what the containment would be or where it would be. I just can't answer that. Now, when you say, is there a limit? Well, the only limit would be the system of gas that we are achieving in terms of the amount of volume that could sustain cyclically. Do you know what I mean? You could probably calculate how much area we must have to sustain the cyclical systems that we've got. My God, that was a lot of S's. I did really well. Round of applause for me. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I mean that's why I said it. It wasn't trying to be a loaded question. That's why I stated that, like, I wasn't asking for where it is. I was just wondering if there's a limit to how far away it is.
A limit is probably the wrong word, because there's going to be potentially a calculable amount that would be suggestible by the systems in place and the amount of produced gases if you were to calculate it. I mean, it would be horrendous to gather all that data. But what I'm saying is, it's not something that you couldn't at least try and get close to figuring out. And by figuring out, I mean measuring quantities of gas production versus how much volume there would have to be to have the various different pressure gradients within the contained system. And by that extension, you could say, well, yeah, there must be a limit in that respect, because if it was double the size, then we wouldn't achieve the same level of gas pressure. We'd be at a different PSI. Just as an example. You know, now normally, because you seem friendly, I perhaps wouldn't have expanded out as much as I have there. But like I say, you already seem to clarify that it wasn't you trying to trap me into saying something that perhaps I shouldn't. You were just being inquisitive.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, of course, like, assuming that the area of the Earth is, we're going off of how much we know there is. Like, if there's more area on our Earth that we don't know about, then it would be a different result.
Exactly. So you can only base that calculation on knowing that, well, there must be an extremity limit to be able to calculate it within. Whereas if you never reach that extremity, like in what people claim as a straw man for us, like the edge of the dome or whatever, like in Simpsons, if you can't reach that point, then you can't ascribe a volume. If it just keeps going and going and going and you never reach it, you're like, well, I don't know how much further beyond that would be calculable within this quantity I'm trying to ascribe for how big the containment must be, because you haven't got enough parameters to be able to say that, have you?
And that also, like, raises the question if there is a point where it can get to, like, the pressures of what space is considered, so not non-zero pressure, but as you increase in altitude, it'll eventually decrease to space level pressures. I mean, that could be possible if
no, that definitely isn't possible, because that's the second law of thermodynamics violation.
But as you increase in that, like, if the container is large enough, then you can have that pressure in it.
No. You have to have the gas pressing on something at some point. There must be containment. Now, if you're saying that, well, we'll make the containment as vast as the heliocentric idea of space, no, because then the gas that we do have at 14.7 psi at ground level would dissipate into that volume. That's what I'm saying. To a certain degree, you can ascribe an amount, but you must know the parameters. Therefore, it's very difficult to say you can even come close to calculating it, because you don't know the outside extremities going forward or out, north, south, east, or west. But when you suggest that, no, I can have this gas pressure gradient dissipate to a vacuum, then that's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, because the gas would fill that vacuum. Now, the fact that we have gradiated pressure doesn't alter that pressure to be gradiated must be contained to form pressure in the first place. If you just extend it out metaphorically, it'll never achieve the pressure.
It's a low pressure. It still has pressure in it. Like, there's still a density to the, like, medium that it's in. Just like how, at 10 kilometers, the density is like half an atmosphere. And as you go up to 11, it's, 0.49 or whatever atmospheres. Like there's still a difference in pressure, but it doesn't all escape to there.
Sure, but
So if you just had a
within your scale, you're describing it with sphere-shaped airs. How many sphere-shaped airs we have? So the arbitrary ascribed volume for that convention requires that you assume that you can have sphere-shaped air without containment, just in the very construct of the description of that pressure that you're
an
using.
atmosphere is just 101 kPa. It's atmosphere just meaning, you know, a value for pressure. The standard 14.7 psi.
There's something you're mixing up there. Within the heliocentric paradigm that we're all fed, we're given the impression that there's this constant smooth decrease in pressure. That's not true at all. 85% of all our air pressure is below cloud level. Cloud level doesn't generally go much higher than 4 or 5 miles, sometimes up to 6. Right. So after that, how can there be a smooth gradient in pressure when the pressure dissipates greatly after that exact point? That's not going to be a smooth. What you're talking about is a calculation based off of a heliocentric belief, not reality. There is a pressure gradient, but it's not a smooth gradient like we are led to believe.
I'm really sorry to do this over the top of your discussion, lads. Shout out to Unitox Femu, who says, celebrating 53. Yippee, yay. Well, happy birthday. Last month was great listening to all your shorts. I'll text you soon with some dinner or lunch event, if you are okay with that. Definitely, Unitox Femu. We've been talking about meeting up for ages, and you're only local, so, man, we should have done it ages ago. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, shout out to Theo Megawerty. Attitude. I'm right because super chat. Yeah, right on, Theo. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, air isn't sphere-shaped. We don't have sphere-shaped air. Parts of the convention just brainwash you in the linguistics. But, you know, to ascribe volume, you know, you can do it with conventions that can ascribe the amount of non-containment at the Kármán line and things of that nature. But it's oxymoronic in the descriptions that we currently have for a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum without containment. There is no containment.
So if I change the word atmosphere to atmoplane and it was still the same pressure, would that make you happier?
But to do the calculation, you'd need V. Volume. Where are you going to get that?
Well, you can just use all the other variables and get V. You can solve for V using temperature, pressure, and amount of gas.
Okay, if you say so. What does that alter? To be at pressure, we've got to have containment. We can ascribe numbers to it. So what?
Well, I'm just saying you can use all those variables you'd have, but you'd have to like integrate over the entire new volume or integrate over the entire new area, basically.
You can't solve for V. V has to be known. You can't solve for it.
Yeah, you need to know the volume.
You don't need enough, or you can solve for V using other variables than V.
If you say so.
Okay, what's the V? What is the V then?
That's why I said you have to.
So what is it? If you say you can solve for V, then show me V. V is the size of the container. Remember.
You can solve for it algebraically.
You got that? How are you doing it? I'm saying no, we need to know it. Brian's saying fine.
So
if you're going to say solve for it, then what are you going to do? Give us the parameters that we already discussed that I said you can't get enough of. Give us them to solve for V. That's what Brian's asking you for.
Yeah, it's Charles' law. It would be V equals NR over P times T.
So where'd you get V?
You're solving for V. You're not using V in the equation. You're solving for V.
How can you solve for V if you're claiming there isn't a V?
I never claimed that there was wasn't or was a V.
But I'm saying in a heliocentric paradigm, there isn't a V. So how can you solve for a V that isn't there?
This isn't. I'm not supporting the.
It's fine if you want to solve for V.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying how do you solve for a V that you don't know about? And you're saying you can solve for it. Okay, if you can solve for it, right, then that ends the heliocentrism because it means it has to be there if you can solve for it. As you're saying. Now, I don't think you can solve for it. I would say you have to know it first. But if you're saying you can, then that ends heliocentrism because that V is there then. It can't not be. You've just given limits. There's no limits in their paradigm, but there is a limit in reality.
So I think what Brian's suggesting is regardless if you can suggest you solve for it or you do solve for it, you're still having a volume of the containment. That's what V is.
Yeah, I understand. This has nothing to do with ball Earth. This is
I
just
get that. I think Brian gets that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, in conclusion, yeah, we're going to have a V, and to have V, it's the volume of the containment, so there must be it. But there's debate about how you could, or potentially if you even could, calculate what that V was, because there's so many parameters beyond our ability to measure and therefore incorporate.
Yeah, so if I set it up so, change in X, so or change in Y in altitude over like the entire V equals NR divided by V times T, then you could put any numbers in there and you could be able to get any large enough like volume of containment. So all you need to do is you just need to have some mechanism.
Hold on, Brian. Just finish off that sentence. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as long as you have the correct amount of gas, like pressure or temperature, you can adjust those variables to get whatever you want. So that's what I'm saying. Like the container could be as large as possible. Like there is really no limit.
You have to determine the R exactly what it is, because here's the thing: what are you determining is the limit to it? Is it the Kármán line? Is it beyond that? Is it lower? I mean, it really is that, because you have to determine what that is, determine what you would get the volume out of it.
You have more problems than that. The problems are, just give me a second because my phone is going to go dead pretty soon. The problems they have is this: you have a moving heat source, which is the sun, which is changing the temperatures and the pressures, constant, every day, all day. And because of seasons, temperatures and pressures will be different in a place now than they will in 6 months' time. So you have this constant change. How do you solve for something when you have a constant change?
It's called calculus.
Yeah, but that's the constant change in the area that we can assess.
Averages.
Hold on. I've already said there's parameters that you don't know. So you're saying, okay, what within that given area? So where are you going to ascribe the limit to that variation? You can't. You're going to arbitrarily ascribe it to some, outside edge of some projected map? You don't know where the outside limit of that particular varying, constantly changing, calculable, says you, amount to solve for V. But where does that end? What's the edge of that? You don't know. That's the point.
Yeah. So how could you say that there is a limit to gas pressure?
Because we've got gas pressure, so it's got to be pressing on something in a volume. That's what you're trying to solve for. How much volume? Yeah, but that's in containment. Now your argument seems to hinge on the idea. That you can infer that we can have a infinite sky vacuum that's got a container, and that's perfectly acceptable because you can solve for V. Okay, it's just me. Is it just me, or is this guy talking through the conclusion to this argument? Is it just me?
Because
is it just me? It is just me. I'm just imagining this guy talking through the middle of what I'm just saying, right? No, I'm not imagining it. No, you don't know where the limit of that varying bit that you said you could just calculate. No, you haven't. You've got a massive variation with huge numbers of calculable differences within a given area that doesn't have a limit to the area for your calculation. That's the annihilation of your claim that you can solve for V. How do we know we've got V to solve for, says you? Well, V is the amount of the containment that we must have to achieve the gas pressure to be gradiated and varying massively. Yeah? The containment is an absolute prerequisite. It's an antecedent for the gas pressure. That's how we know. And it's not going to be successful in terms of... There's him interrupting again. It's the third time. It's not going to be successful for you to infer that because of your... You want to pop yourself on mute while I'm annihilating this garbage, whoever that is? Mr. Amish? Someone he's off mute. It's not going to work to infer that, well, if I suggest that we can have a vast, vast, vast volume and it still be considered containment. No, we wouldn't achieve 14.7 psi if we had a vast, vast area, contained or otherwise, that gas could disperse into, because the gas would disperse into it. Meanwhile, we must have containment. That's the V that you'd be calculating for, says you. It's only him interrupting and stuttering and stammering through that last sentence again. And there's me pointing out that he's still stammering. I haven't taken breath yet, but he's stuttering and stammering, continuing, as me pointing out how bleeding unreasonable it is for him to stutter and stammer through the top of my conclusion that I've tried 3 times to make.
Your conclusion for 5 minutes, Nathan? About all
now the amount that it's taken with him bloody interrupting me constantly is going to get discussed. Yeah, you need a container. That's the V you say you can calculate for. You can't. You don't know the parameters. That's the conclusion.
So if you don't know the variables, then how can you ever...
You don't know them. You don't know them.
Yeah, and neither do you.
I'm not suggesting I can calculate the volume of the containment we must have. You are.
Yeah, I'm assuming it algebraic.
Yeah, so don't ask me about what I need for volume or calculation that you say you can do and haven't. And can't. That's the end. That would be the end of your burden of proof reversal fallacy you just attempted. And I'm going to address it without him yammering through me, unless mods have to step in so I can address the burden of proof reversal fallacy attempt he's just employed. No, it's not. Absolutely confirmed by him as he still yammers through me. It's not my claim, not my measurement, not my suggestion he can get it. It's his. But he just put that on me. Burden of proof reversal fallacy. Why is this guy claimed to be on my side using fallacious reasoning? Because apparently I need a volume. No, I don't. We do need containment to have gas pressure. That is the third conclusion. Hopefully, yeah, definitely this time, not coming with interruption at the point of conclusion. It's not an infinitely vast space that gas could be filling, because it would be filling it.
All right, so you don't know the volume, which means that it could be nearly infinite, Nathan.
I never suggested I did know the volume. You're the one coming up. This is a second attempt of a burden of proof reversal fallacy by suggesting that me, by not knowing it when I haven't claimed I should be or would be knowing it. That's the second attempt at the same fallacy.
All right, so then what's the limit, Nathan?
Why are you asking me, did I make a bleeding claim about it? So that's the third attempt. Third attempt. So he's going to chant through me. This is unreasonable. This is now becoming unreasonable. He's chanting through me as he makes the third attempt. He's asked me. I don't bleed and have a claim about it for the third bleeding time. Stop trying to flip the burden.
You made the claim.
No, I didn't. No, I did not. No, I did not. No, I did not make any claim about how much volume there was. This is a fourth attempt. No, we must have containment. You're the one saying you can calculate how much that's volume, containment that we must have. I say we must have containment. I made it explicitly clear. He's only got his one-trick pony flipping a burden 4 times. Now I'm sick of it. You can hear me getting irritated, moderators. Do I have to deal with it a 5th time now if he comes off mute and does it again? So, your suggestion that you, not me, can calculate the volume of the containment we must have fails. Let's not try and flip that burden onto me now, sunshine, like you've just done 4 times. Anything else?
You made the claim that pressure can't go that low, Nathan.
When did he quote me? I did not say those words. Lying bastard, remove him. That he will not quote that. I did not. Those words did not cross my lips. He will not be quoting me. Those words did not cross my lips. Gotta lie to Glurf.
I think what happened, what's wrong here is, I've said this many times before, and I'll say it now again, before I run out of power on my phone. People need to research what a dynamic closed system is. But then they'll realize there's absolutely no way that you can have an area that large, that is that low in pressure, and have a completely different level of pressure at the surface level. When you research a dynamic closed system, you'll see it explains every single thing that we have in the world at present. All the weather, everything, it's all explained within that. But you will not be able to have that much of a void in pressure. You just can't, because the pressure we have here is going to eventually fill that somewhat.
Yeah, I addressed that immediately and when the liar claiming to be a flurf when what his argument consists of is a claim that we can have a vast area, what like the solar system-sized container. or the expansion of the known universe in the heliocentric model size container. Glurf, larper, scum. No, you're not a glurf. Oh, right, you're a flatty. Oh, great. Well, obviously you're on my side while you try and argue for a vast amount of non-containment in violation of a law of nature, and then straw man me and flip the burden 4 times whilst chanting through me just like a normal glurf would do. Oh, well, you definitely seem on my side, sunshine. Obviously you're a flatty arguing for this vast area that what could be the same as the solar system or outer space. No, you're a LARPing glurf. That's what you actually are, you lying scumbag. That's why you're chanting through me and repeating and rinsing and repeating your attempt to flip the burden 4 times. Shout out to Phoenix Rising 86, who says, to get a volume, you'd need to know the exact temperature and pressure on the contain. Okay. A smelt baseline assertion. Fallacy instantly. I think I'm either terrible at reading or that was a slightly malformed super chat, Phoenix Rising. But thank you very much for the super chat.
Right, so you make no claim to how low the pressure can get.
Guys, it's the 5th attempt.
Answer the question.
I'm just clarifying, Nathan. I don't want to interrupt.
Was the first 4 times not enough?
You didn't really answer, Nathan. Can you just answer, can you answer the question?
So was 4 times not enough? You telling me to answer something I've answered 4 times in the 5th attempt to do the exact same thing, and now I'm talking in and you're talking too. Now, this would be the 5th attempt of your claim that you can calculate volume attempting to be flipped onto me. It's now 5th attempt. At what point does the neutral moderation team say, no, I think 6 is probably enough now. This guy is only going to try and flip this burden by establishing that you don't have a claim that I'm making about the volume I can calculate that I failed in? Can we just establish that you don't have a claim that I need to flip onto you? So we can take this into the point where you do definitely have a claim that I'm making that I failed about. It's been 5 bleeding times.
So Nathan makes no claim how low gas pressure can get. All right. So space can exist. Thank you, Nathan.
Like, did he just make a conclusion on my behalf based on a quote that he didn't give? Seems like he did. That seems pretty unreasonable. No, what I actually claim is that we must have containment to form pressure. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. Now, you suggested that you could calculate the volume of that, inferring that it could be vast, like space, even though you're claiming to be a flatty. Seems like an extraordinary effort to go to that sort of argumentation stature when you're a flatty. But there we go, obviously you are. I mean, it's not like you're a LARPer, as I've called you on. And it's not like you're chanting the same 5th attempt to flip the burden onto me or anything, after making a conclusion in that failure after the 5th attempt. You've concluded with something I've said without putting quotes around it. It just seems like you're a total scumbag, actually, sir. That's my conclusion. You're a scumbag. Earth's measured flat, and there is no outer space sky vacuum. There's just chanting glurf larpers that can talk through the conclusion when I make it. Notice there was no interruption to his conclusion, made with a quote I didn't actually say. Now we've got an open mic from somebody in the Discord server ruining my conclusion that Earth is measured flat, and any volume that will be calculable with the plane of reference we'll be using for the containment that we must have to have a volume to calculate when he failed and suggested he could calculate it. I make no claims about the pressure that does exist beyond the fact it must have containment. And it must. There is no outer space, there is no trips to the moon via a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr, as claimed in the heliocentric model. I undo that claim. That's what I do.
So if space is claimed to be 10 to the negative 14 or 17 torr or whatever, that still implies a container, Nathan. So we can still have that pressure.
Oh, well, good for you. You can believe that second law of thermodynamics violation, area 10 to the minus 17 torr, black area next to a Earth in that space with the gas not filling it in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. You're entitled to believe that means that the gas that's not contained next to a vacuum in those pictures is actually contained because space is the container. You can believe that as a fundamentalist religious LARPing glurf who needs to believe we've got a giant space-sized container that's not demonstrating the laws of entropy when you look at a blue marble with gas on it not filling that space. You can believe that as a zealot. But I thought you were a flurf. No, you're not. You're a LARPing scumbag glurf who needs to flip the burden 5 times and is now saying that you've had a victory because that means we do have containment when we look at a blue marble with gas not dispersing into a vacuum. No, that's a straight-up 3rd time. Second law of thermodynamics violation, like I told you the first time. LARPer.
I never claimed to be a flirt, Nathan.
Oh, did you not? You just like to infer that to try and take some sort of advantage? Oh, well, that's what I would say if I was a lying larper too.
I never claimed to be.
I stutter much. I what now?
You never claimed, or I never.
Telling me what I'm claiming. It seems like you're a glurf larper who's a scumbag stutterer. Now he's been called on what he actually is. Yeah, I'm done with you, mate. I don't want to talk to you anymore. You're scum. You've put words in my mouth and haven't put quotes around him. You lied about what I've said, taking a conclusion after attempting to flip the burden 5 times. You are a scumbag. You are also not anything other than a larper pretending to be a flatty by inference. And then saying, oh, well, I never actually said that, and then chanting through me, summarising. Because you're now chanting through me, behaving exactly like Glurf's behaved, because you're chanting through me, summarising what's actually happened here. But if you chant through me, summarising what's actually occurred, maybe the audience won't hear it, or the Discord servers will just indefinitely allow you to exercise your larper Glurf ways, which have been admirably demonstrated by you here today. I thank you. I rest my case. Any more for any more? Any more larpers pretending to be flatties that want to pretend we can have a giant space-shaped and sized container? Feel free.
I have a question, if I may ask.
Feel free.
Why are so many retards on this server? Tell me.
That's not, shouldn't be directed at me. Direct that to the server
I mean,
operators.
I'm talking...
So Spike's got moderated immediately because that wasn't directed at me. It was directed at the moderation team. So he's immediately been shut up on this neutral platform because they're insinuating that the server operators, something I have nothing to do with, are doing a crap job. Me, I'll get the same 5 attempts, rinse and repeat, because this platform that's not mine, that's this Discord server that I have absolutely no control over, wants to seem as neutral as possible. Therefore, they're not going to shut the guy up on the first attempt to rinse and repeat the same thing when lying about being a flatty. Or at least inferring it and then saying, I didn't actually say that. Yes, scumbag, totally gross behaviour.
Is that the guy who was saying he could calculate a volume?
Yeah, same guy.
Well, what's the how much gas is there then?
Oh, we didn't get that.
What he's got to realise is he's stating an ideal gas law, EV equals nRT. For him to be able to do the resolution he claimed, he would have to know exactly how many gas molecules there are in his universe for him to resolve the other side of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. He'd have to have an exact amount of gas.
He needs to know N. How many gas molecules he's got.
Well, you get counting, mate, and come back when you let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, in conclusion, there is no area of volume 10 to the minus 17 torr, aka a sky vacuum. The gas would fill the space, suggesting that that means there is a container. Therefore, you can have a blue marble in a sky vacuum without gas dispersing into it. It's still a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation. The same conclusion had at the beginning is the same conclusion at the end. Of course, at the beginning, when I got him to concede that point and he agreed nodding along, pretending to be a flatty, as a LARPing glurf scumbag, it was then, what, hand-waved thereafter? Like it doesn't matter that gas fills space and that we can just have that giant space. No, we can't. Straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. There is no sky vacuum called outer space. It's fake. Therefore, everything that's claimed to take place in it, trips to the moon, trips to Mars, trips with gold discs out to the edge of it, they're all debunked immediately.
Well, he did say that if we knew X, Y, and Z, we could calculate, let's just say, a volume. You'd have to know X, Y, and Z in the first place, though.
And they don't.
And we don't. That's the problem. Before we can even extrapolate that you might be able to do that.
And why is he extrapolating it out? So we could suggest that there's a giant space-sized container, that gas isn't falling in line with entropic dispersion laws. No, mate, that's still second law of thermodynamics violation. I told you the first time we discussed this. Lack of parameters to calculate it with. But maybe I'm making a claim about it.
Well, he'd have to know how much gas pressure there is at 40 miles up, but that's something nobody knows. We don't have any weather balloons that can go that high.
What a shame.
You know what I mean?
So his claim that would be used in conclusion, even though he didn't get the opportunity or right to make a conclusion that he still seemed to want to make anyway, that means we've got a giant space-sized container. He can't measure any of that to make that conclusion. Even if he had got the data, it would still be incomplete. Yeah, it's just a total failure. But his cards were revealed at the end when he's like, that means we've got a giant space-shaped container. Now, he didn't actually say that. That was a paraphrasing of the sentiment. Not that I would ever suggest that that was a quote and put quotes around it.
Well, the thing is that when we asked him earlier on, well, what is it then? What is the V? He wanted to move away from it because he didn't have what he needed to do that. He's saying if someone did have, then they could. It's all hypothetical nonsense.
Right, indeed you do. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you gifted memberships, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, joined the politics server. Hopefully one of the mods will drop a link to the politics server so you can join that neutral platform I have absolutely no control of at your will. So yeah, drop a link to that if you're one of my moderators right at the end of this live stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.